So I wanted to talk to you today about me. A lot of you have asked the question about who I am really and what I represent. So I just wanted to put the record straight and say, yes, I am transgender. I know a lot of you already know that. A lot of you have worked it out. It will come as a surprise to a couple of people, but hey, it's the way it is. And I've been like that all my life. I've always been transgender, but I only decided to present female later on in life. So 4 years ago, to be precise. It was Christmas, New Year 1920 when of the year 2019-2020, not in 1920, when I decided, I just woke up one day and it was like, got to do it. Things had changed around me, family-wise. They'd all changed. My parents were no longer an influence in my life because that was the main reason I had decided many years ago that I was going to stay as a boy, because I didn't want to upset my parents, particularly my mother. My mother was dead against it. But anyway, they were, for one reason or another, no longer an influence in my life. So I woke up one day and it was just like, okay. So I went to the doctor, got referred to the GIC, got put on the waiting list. There's 6 years. So I decided to go private to get my medication. So that turned out to be a good thing because I've now been on meds. It'll be nearly 4 years. 4 years on May the 4th. And things have changed immensely over that period. Physically, I've changed. My body, the body fat distributes differently, and around my face. So yeah, everything's changed immensely. Mentally, I've changed. Physically, mentally is very. You go through a lot of more mood swings. I was always a very, very laid back person. Now I can be quite moody, I can be quite snappy, and I go through like a mental sort of time of the month, and you do. It changes everything how you do, and your life changes. You know, not just the fact that okay, I'm going to be a girl now, but the way you have to live your life. I have to go to the ladies' toilet. Ladies, you have to queue every time. Oh, what a nightmare that is. But I've always been transgender ever since I was young, and the first time I can remember, I was probably properly, I remember 11, 12, when I first started to realise that what I was feeling wasn't just a sexual thing. It was more of a kind of like, I should be like this. And I started to experiment with the way that I looked. And it's very difficult because my mother was very much against it. And no matter what I did and how I tried to do it and how I tried to hide it, it was very, very difficult. And that was back in the 70s and the 80s. You know, life was a lot different then. We didn't have the internet. We couldn't just go out and meet people like we do nowadays. So because of the internet, and it has to be because of the internet and people's mindset, you know, the whole world's changed in a lot of different ways for the good. And it's become a lot more acceptable and a lot easier to sort of be the person that who you are. It wasn't that easy back in the day. It was very, very difficult. So anyway, I kind of like went through my life and then decided that I wasn't going to transition. I was going to stay as a boy. I quite enjoyed being a boy, don't get me wrong. I had some amazing times in my life due to the fact that I was a boy. I've dated a lot of women. I've met some amazing people. I was married, divorced. Had a little tiny bit to do with it, but that's not the main reason. And it's been a great journey. Now I'm on a different journey now. The latter part of my life, it was like a decision to go out there and enjoy and be who you wanted to be who I wanted to be, and just enjoy my life. And that's what I want to do. So I've planned to sail around the world, which is a lot of you know that is what I'm doing. I spend at the moment, I did 18 months and got to the Caribbean, sailed to the Caribbean from the UK, France, Spain, Portugal, Cabo Verde, across the Atlantic, and spent 18 months doing a lot of work on the boat, because the boat that I have was being refurbed just before I bought it. It was saleable, but needed a lot of work, so I'm slowly doing that work. And I've decided to come back because I'm not going all the way up the chain and through the canal, I have to stay out of hurricane season. So that's why I keep coming back to Grenada. And rather than just sit there for 5 months on my boat, yes, I can do some work on it, but I decided to come home and I can do some work here, make money, and buy boat parts, which are a hell of a lot cheaper than what they are over there. It's cheaper for me to buy them here, ship them over there, pay the tax. It's still half the price. When you buy big components, that adds up to a lot of money. So that is my plan. So I'm going to keep doing that. So currently at the moment I'm on one of those. I'm back in the UK, just like my coffee, for the summer. I decided to come home early this year because I didn't really sail much. Because I was doing a lot of DIY on the boat. I fitted a new windlass, redid all the V-berth. I had to empty it to feed the cables through, so I decided to work on it. And sort of like just been doing my boat. So I'm coming back. Hopefully when I go back next time, it'll be a lot longer, maybe even not come back. So that's kind of like where I am and what I've been doing. So back to the journey. It's a difficult journey because it's a hard one. Making that move from a boy to a girl is really, really hard. And first of all, a lot of people do it in a lot of different ways. The way that I did it was I decided to go on the medication, speak to the doctor, and then wait till I'd hit a certain point when the medication had started to take hold and change me physically, so that I could kind of like get away a little bit more with being a boy. There's no point doing it when you're traveling across the Atlantic. It took me 4 weeks because, just be who you are and enjoy the time. You can see that from my previous videos, and enjoy it when you get there. So I've only really been solidly 100% full time since last year, probably about a year now. When I came back to the UK the last time, I sort of like started presenting full time because it gave me the opportunity to come back here and just wear clothes, my girls' clothes, my female wardrobe, without being questioned, and being able to use those clothes and my makeup and the way I am to sort of like, I wouldn't say pass, but just be more comfortable in who I am in the way that I was presenting. My work has been amazing. Filippo was just so nice. And everybody at work's been so accepting. Yes, there's going to be comments. There always is. The boys in the kitchen, they are the boys of the boys. That's what they do. And there's a lot of people around here. They're all rugby people, not football. So they're all testosterone fueled, and they're all going to have the little snake. But you just, take it with a pinch of salt. You've got to expect that. You can't turn around and say one day, right, I'm going to be a girl. Why are you having a go at me? Why? I'm a girl. And it's like, be real. Understand that some people are going to have a go because that's how they feel comfortable within their own skin, and that's how they deal with it. Some people will, some won't. I mean, I have lost a couple of friends because they can't deal with it, they don't understand it, and that's up to them, down to them. I don't really mind. I do. Some of my life I've lost as good friends, but some people are not, and some people don't want to be your friend. Some associates I better don't, but generally most people don't care. And one of the biggest things I've noticed actually is when I'm sailing is the sailing community have been so accepting, and most people have. So it's very difficult. And one of the things I get asked a lot is relationships. Am I gay? So the answer to that question is no. Now, this is always a funny one because when you look at it, so if I look at it from a male point of view, no, I'm not gay. I don't like men. I like women. You look at it from a girl's point of view, are you gay? Then technically, yes, because I'm a lesbian, because I like women. I don't like boys. So you can take that which way you want. But yes, I like women. I don't like men. Not to say that I won't in the future, because sometimes they say that the medication can change the way you feel, the way you think. For me at the moment, it hasn't. The other big question I get asked is, have you had the chop? Have you had the operation? No, I haven't. Do I want it? I don't really know, and I will decide on that when we get closer to the time. 3 options. Stay as you are, number 1. Have it removed and have nothing, just so that you can go to the loo. And number 3, have a full vaginoplasty so you have a vagina. Now, it's always a difficult one. Why do I want to have a vagina? I suppose, yes, women do have lesbian sex, and it's all part and part of it. But generically, it's if you want to have heterosexual sex with another man, which I don't. You have to go through a process every day of dilation. Dilation is basically, because you don't naturally have a vagina, you have to keep it open. So you have to use, they're almost like a dildo. They're plastic things. You get 3 different sizes, and you have to keep inserting it, and you have to do it at the beginning 3 times a day. And then it becomes less and less and less till you get to the point after about a year or 2, you end up doing it sort of like once a month or so, once every fortnight. But you have to teach it to stay open and not just collapse on you. So there's all those kind of things to think about as well. And not only that, with dilation, it's everybody thinks, oh man, you'll be able to wear nice things, like a nice bikini. But it's like, what you don't take into consideration with dilation is you have to, what you're putting inside you have to lubricate, because you don't naturally lubricate it. Now, unfortunately, that lube doesn't come out like it does with a girl. A girl goes through a natural process of, her system gets flushed once a month, and that's the way they deal with it. With that, it doesn't. So you have to wear like panty liners all the time to, catch all that stuff, and it's kind of not the most exciting thing in life. But you have to think about these things. So I haven't decided. For a long, long time, I've always said no. I don't really want it in my own mind. Anybody asks me, I always sit on the fence 50-50. Don't really know. I'm not for it. I'm not against it. I'm probably slightly going more towards it now. I don't really know. We'll wait and see what happens when we get there. But that's generally, when I get to see the specialist and they ask me that question, that's when I'll decide. Relationships is always a difficult thing. Because genetic girls, cis girls, not really very interested in you because you're transgender. Men, they just want to use you as some kind of sexual object to fulfill their fantasies, because they know that, I don't know why, but trans girls tend to be slightly more open-minded when it comes to sort of like the bedroom. And men just look at you as like a dirty little secret that they want to keep. So I'm not interested in that. It doesn't bother me. Yes, I'd like to have a relationship with a woman. It will probably end up being with another trans woman, because they understand. There are very, very few and far between trans women that have relationships with cisgendered people. It does happen. More often than not, it's a man, because, again, it's a bit of a kink for them as well. That's probably a generic thing to say, but it's kind of true. Women, it's much, much, much more difficult, and it's highly unlikely. You can't perform as a lesbian like you would with a normal woman, and it depends on your look. So yes, I'm going to have more things done. The next thing I'm going to do is have a new nose. That will help soften my face a little bit. As I said before, I've had my voice done. I had that done last year because I used to have a very deep, heavy, masculine voice. And that was always a giveaway for me. Whenever I open my mouth, people look at me and go, that's like, now they don't really know. They have to sort of like, is it, isn't it? And they don't really know, depending on how I look during the day. Like today, for example, I've got a lot of makeup on for the point of the camera. I don't wear this much makeup when I go to work because it's not practical. But I can kind of like get away with it in the right setting, with the right light at the right angle. If I smile all the time, I can kind of like get away with it. But it's a difficult scenario. It'll be interesting to see what your thoughts are. And I know there's going to get a lot of bad thoughts, and I know there's going to be a lot of good thoughts. It's a difficult one. It really is. But I wanted to tell you. I wanted to tell you who I am. Those that you are following me, most of you will know and understand. But I just thought it's time that people knew. It'd be interesting to see what kind of a reaction we get from this. But yeah, please tell me. Leave all your comments and ask. I will answer any of your questions that you want to. Honestly, I don't skip about the bush. I will tell you. Going through something like this, you can't hide stuff. So you tend to be a very open person. And it'll be interesting, interesting to see where you go. If you go back to when I was young, and I said before, I kind of worked out quite early, and that's a very frustrating time because when I was young and had those feelings, you had nobody to talk to, and that was always a big thing. Because again, we didn't have the internet, so there was nobody out there that you could talk to. So you always thought you were a bit weird, like a bit of a freak. So you kind of kept those feelings bottled up, and it played on your mind because you always thought that you were different. Not in a bad way. You knew that these people existed. I remember when I first found out when I was in my sort of mid-teens about Caroline Cossey. She was a Bond girl, and she went through the whole Bond movie and the stardom of going through it, and then she was exposed by a British newspaper. No surprise, and that changed. That put an end to her acting career. And prior to that, nobody cared. She was a beautiful woman. I'm thinking, so these people do exist, and I wouldn't have known where to start, who to go to. I couldn't go to my parents, especially not my mother. So going to your doctor is a whole different thing. And back in those days, it was an unknown thing. Now I went to my doctor, and he was so nice and he was so helpful. So I went through a lot of my early years, my teens, and in my 20s, always thinking that I was different, and I always knew I should be different, and I wanted to transition, but I just decided, no, carry on, be who you are, and kind of like lived a lie. And I think for that reason, I never really opened up to anybody about my life and about who I was and what I wanted. And that's very, very difficult because you carry that burden with you all your life. It's not really a burden, but you carry those thoughts with you all your life. And it wasn't until in my mid-30s that I started to tell people. And I told a couple of people, and they were kind of a little bit shocked at first, but then they were accepting. Then the internet came around in '96, and that was it was a whole new world, There's a revelation. You could meet other people. Suddenly all these people were coming out of the closet or just coming to the fore, and you just knew you could talk to people, talk about your feelings. And I met some amazing people. The first time I ever went out as myself, as Nika, was Paris, because I was working in Paris, and I went out with a lady from the Sorbonne. She was a professor at the Sorbonne in Paris, and we went out to dinner, and we had such a nice evening. We talked, and she was so understanding, and that gave me a lot of confidence. And over the years, I've encouraged those people that are in the closet to come out of the closet and be who they are. And one of my best friends did exactly that. I kept encouraging. One night she came out and never looked back. And now, she's transitioned a lot sooner than what I have. So it's a journey, and it's a long journey that you go on. It's not an overnight journey. You can't just click a button, put a dress on, and become a girl, because it doesn't work that way. It never has done, and it never will. And it's always... Sorry, I just had to change the battery on my GoPro. So it's kind of it's a very slow process. I think that's where we got to. About what we can... Sorry, I had to change the battery on my GoPro. So it's a very slow process. Sorry, I had to change the battery on my GoPro. So it's a very slow process of going through transition. It takes a long time, and you're constantly evolving. Going back to what I was saying about, do I want to have the operation? The answer to that question is, I don't know. A lot of girls that's their ultimate goal. If they don't have the operation, then they're not 100% female. I don't have that feeling. I never have. I just knew I was always meant to be a girl. So I accepted the fact I was a boy and whatever came with it. And we'll just work it out as we go along. That's kind of like what it is, really. I'll make that decision when the time comes. When I have to meet with a consultant, we'll decide. But I suppose for me, the biggest thing for me is relationship. It's going to be hard to have a relationship with anybody because they either want you as a boy or they want you as a girl. They don't want you as both. And especially at the moment, those that want you, there are people out there that will take you and accept you, especially girls, where you are at the moment, because they want to use your male parts. When you transition to become a girl, they don't want you anymore. And that's always very difficult. The amount of times I've talked to people online, you have to help them because they're struggling because their partner doesn't want to know them anymore because they transition. It's a hard life. It's not easy being a girl. A girl's well known, but it's not easy being a transgendered girl. Going from a boy to a girl, it's a hard journey. Sometimes it's difficult to make people understand. People think you're doing it because it's a kink. It's not a kink. It's not a sexual thing. It's up here. That's where it's always been. You're born that way, and it's a really hard thing to make people understand. I spend a lot of time, and previous girls and why are you always looking at that? Because I'm looking at another girl to see how she's dressed, how she presents, what she's wearing, how does it make her look, what kind of stuff are they looking at. I've missed many years of fashions and being able to go out and enjoy them. So because I'm obviously later on in years now, and it's difficult. So there are a few things that can help. I'm going to have Botox next week. Again, I love the Botox. I'm addicted to it. And they said that you would smooths out your face, takes away all your wrinkles. Right. Have a couple of bits of stuff on my marionette lines just to make my face easier. But yeah, it's not an easy life. It's not an easy life. But it's an enjoyable life. I'm enjoying the process and I'm enjoying the trip massively. I went to Cheltenham Races last week to meet my friends, all my Disney friends there, because I used to work in Disneyland. We go they go every year. I try and go as often as I can. Obviously, I don't always live here. And that was amazing. So many people and hardly anybody bats an eye at you. Nobody cares. We had a great time. It was lovely. And I really enjoyed the journey. And I am enjoying the journey. But I want to hear from you. I want to know what you have to say. Ask me anything, and I will answer you honestly, as I've said previously. Be nice to see what your opinion is. Where you live, what part of the world are you in, and how is it perceived in the parts of the world that you're in, specifically America. I'd love to hear from American people. Yes, I plan on visiting America, but it's kind of like, it's difficult. I did get a visa in ESTA on the way back from the Caribbean the last time because I had to transit through JFK, and I got it no problem because my passport and everything says I'm a girl. Do you get more discrimination over there because you're changing? Is there discrimination if you've already changed, like me as a foreigner coming in and people don't know? Yeah, it'd be interesting to know, because it's like the feedback we get over here, or what we see in the news, is like that America's just becoming so anti-LGBT. It's kind of like, it's crazy, man. I really wouldn't like to live there. But anyway, yeah, I might do a part 2 later on, further down the line. But for the time, this is it. Just ask. If you want to know, ask. Don't be afraid, okay? And just enjoy your day. And it's good to see you all. Bye.